Factory exhaust. Removing the factory exhaust is extremely easy, so let's move on to the installation of the product. Let the fun begin. Here's a picture of the factory exhaust system removed. The undercarriage of the vehicle should look like this. You should receive your AMR 3-inch turboback exhaust system in a box that looks similar to this one. Thoroughly go through the box. There should be 6 pieces of the exhaust system laid out, including 2 boxes with clamps and 1 large box which contains minor instructions, an AMR powered sticker, and all gaskets and bolts needed for assembly. Once laid out, should look like this. We'll start by installing the AMR downpipe. While keeping the downpipe hanging down just a tad, start to screw the nut on the lower turbocharger stud. Screw down until nut is about halfway through stud. Now, lift the back of the downpipe up so that the flange on the AMR downpipe sits firmly against the flange on the transmission. Then, take the factory bolt that was taken out of the factory downpipe and install it onto the bracket. After doing so, by hand, take the rest of the nuts needed for the lower bolts on the downpipe and thread those in by hand as well. Installing the mid-pipe is very straightforward. It can only go in one way due to the 3-bolt flange. Please do not forget to insert the gasket in between the downpipe and the mid-pipe. Once you've got it aligned, go ahead and start inserting the bolts. Once you have the bolts in, go ahead and put on the nuts, screw them on by hand. Now, move to the factory flange and the downpipe flange. Go ahead and tighten that bolt. You will notice that the AMR mid-pipe does not touch the floor or the drive shaft. There's plenty of clearance all the way around the mufflers, so no worry about anything touching. Now, take the 2 slide clamps that were given to you with the AMR exhaust system. Go ahead and slide the clamp on the driver's side muffler. Now head to the rear of the vehicle. Located on the brace holding on the rear, you will notice that there are 2 bolts. One on the left side of the vehicle and one on the right. Using a 17mm, go ahead and loosen the nut and bolt. The nut is loosened, go ahead and unscrew it by hand. Do not remove the bolt, simply push it through and leave it there. Go ahead and slide the long tube into the muffler. Once slid in all the way, you'll notice the bracket aligns with the bolt that you just slid back. Go ahead and take the bolt, slide it forward, and go ahead and install the nut. Again, tighten by hand. Now, take the driver's side axle back section with the tip. It's either coated or high polished depending on the option you chose. On the tip end, go ahead and put the exhaust bracket on the hanger. Once you have that installed, go ahead and again, do not forget the gasket. Line up the gasket, line up both flanges, and then install the bolts and nuts given to you. Once you have them installed, reminder, only tighten by hand. Now, most importantly, align the tips. The tips will be able to move left or right, up and down. Go ahead and make them as straight as you can with the bumper lining. Once you have them the way you want them, go ahead and tighten the rest of the exhaust system. Once you have those 3 bolts tightened, move to the bolt and nut on the rear and tighten that one. Now moving to the other side of the vehicle, you will notice on the same mount underneath the rear, there will be another bolt and nut. Remove the nut off the bolt and then slide the bolt through, but do not remove. Now, grab the other slip-on clamp for the other side of the vehicle. Slide the other slip-on clamp onto the back of the muffler. Then slide in the small section used for the passenger side of the vehicle. Ensure that it is in firmly. You will notice that the flange located on the back of the tubing fits exactly where the mount is. Now slide the bolt through the mount through the flange. Screw the nut by hand. Now take the passenger side axle back with tip. Install the exhaust bracket on the hanger first. Then move to the back of the axle back. Lay the gasket on, then go ahead, line everything up. Install the bolts and nuts given. Now, again, line up the tips. Move them left, right, up, down till they're aligned the way you like them. Go ahead and tighten the 3 bolts and nuts. Last but not least, tighten the slip-on clamps located on the midsection of the exhaust system. Ensure that they are both tightened firmly. In these pictures, you will notice that everything sits extremely close to everything. This is because this exhaust system was made to perfect fitment. Everything is extremely close, but not touching. Do not worry about this. The exhaust system uses solid mounts and brackets. It will not move, vibrate, or bang against anything underneath the vehicle, along the rear end, or the floor. So it is worry-free. The black floor panel located on the passenger side rear of the vehicle does not touch the passenger side pipe. It might look like it does, but it does not. There's enough room for flex and movement. Do not forget to take the 14mm wrench and tighten the bell mouth along the turbocharger. Top bolts can be reached from the engine bay. The lower ones can be reached from underneath the vehicle. Once these are tightened, the job is completed. Congratulations, you have just installed the AMR 3-inch dual turbo back exhaust system.